Wonderful. Well, speaking of different kinds of conversations, we have a guest. Oh my God! Are we ready? Is everyone ready? All right, let's do this. All right, let me get my notes though, child, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to mess up. So, Jonathan McCrory is a Tony Award and Emmy Award nominated producer, 2 Obie Award-winning Harlem-based artist who has served as executive artistic director at National Black Theater since 2012. He has directed numerous professional productions and concerts. He's been acknowledged as an exceptional leader, additionally through Crane's New York Business 2020 Notable LGBTQ Leaders and Executives. In 2013, he was awarded the Emerging Producer Award by the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and the Torchbearer Award by theatrical legend Woody King Jr. He is a founding member of the collaborative producing organizations Harlem 9, Black Theater Commons, The Jubilee, Next Generation National Network, and the Movement Theater Company. He also sits on the National Advisory Committee for HowAround.com and was a founding member of the original cohort for Art Equity. And I don't think we talked about 2019 and 2018, just by the way. And of course, it's always nice to talk to a fellow Washingtonian and a graduate of the Duke Ellington School of the Arts and New York's Tisch. So come on up, Jonathan. Come join us. We have some questions for you. Everyone give him a hand. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here.
I mean, y'all are fun. This is good. This is some good Sunday energy. It's what I need. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here and blessing us with you and being our first guest on our new show.
I mean, this is an honor. I mean, I was like, Shonda was like, are you ready to be the first? I was like, the first. Oh, I'm christening things. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, boo. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I have to talk about Purlie Victorious.
Yes, child. Yes, let's talk about it.
I mean...
I mean, Purlie Victorious is a gorgeous masterpiece. So if folks don't know about Purlie, I'll give you a little bit of background. Purlie Victorious was written by the giant Ossie Davis. It was his first and last play. It was produced 61 years ago on Broadway, never had a revival, and this is the first revival of the show. Directed by Kenny Leon, starring Leslie Odom and Kara Young, with a magnetic, beautiful cast. It is happening at the Magic Box Theater, and National Black Theater is one of the co-producers. So it was our second time on Broadway. It's the second time a Black theater is actually holding the seat as co-producer.
Congratulations.
And over like 50 years. Yeah. So it's a lot of watersheds happening, and it's pretty quite powerful.
Absolutely. We got the chance to see it last night, and it was... You know, sometimes, you have a guest on and you're like, that was cute. But that experience was so beautiful and transcendent and funny, and it moved my soul. It really did.
I mean, what I'll lean into as far as the moving of the soul is how laughter works inside of our bodies, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't actually give the privilege of understanding the mechanism of that vibration, right? Like if you study laughter, laughter is the only tool that is sonically inside the body that goes through all of your emotional verticals. So it actually allows for you to get close to nirvana and also allows you to get close to despair. And through the cracking of laughter, especially under this world that we currently live in, like if you're in a room where people are laughing, we are all cracking into our despair, but also cracking into our nirvana. And through all of that, allowing for us to have a different chemical reaction to what it means to have shared space. It actually allows for us to then be human with each other versus divisive. So it's actually the show as a mechanism with all of its comedic romp and all of its sensational, like it's actually a dangerous play. When you read it on paper, it's dangerous. When we were thinking about coming on, I was talking to Sade Lipcott, who is our CEO of MBT. I was like, are we really doing this? Like, is this really the play that we're gonna lean into in this current moment, knowing the society that we live under? And it was like a yes and, because the truth of the matter is that Ossie Davis as an artist, would never write something that wasn't about healing us. So if it is dangerous in its penmanship, the soul, the source, is full of grace and love and about us healing. So therefore, it has to be. So we have to lean into it.
I just was struck by how feeling that laughter and seeing what was happening on stage, the relevance of the story, and I felt like it was a show that my grandmother would have connected to and felt was really real and true to her experience, but also that I was feeling right here, right now in 2023. And so I wonder what it was like for you first encountering that script even. And I know you must have been blown away. And again, that feeling of, ooh, we're doing this?
I mean, I was asking myself, where's his other work? Like I was saying like, estate, knock, 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 give me unpublished. I need unpublished memoirs, scripts, anything. Like give me the unfinished stuff, because that was his first and last. Like we don't like you would think that, oh, now I can go back and read the other stuff. No. They're in a vault somewhere. It's like the Prince stuff. It's like the Lauryn Hill stuff. Like, we all know Lauryn Hill is sitting on some gems right now
that we will never hear.
And Prince, and they say Prince has a catalog that will take like 40 years to actually truly be able to understand, right? And you think about this, what does brilliance look like, right? What does healed brilliance look like? And that is what I came to understand when I saw the script. Now, what actually truly transformed me was those artists. Like reading the script, you find all the concern. You find all of the moments that you're like, what should I be doing, right? But then when you talk to someone like Leslie Odom, who will be helming this ship and also coming on as a producer, right? Then you start to have a conversation of what safety or what care looks like. You start to have a conversation of what divine ordinance looks like, right? Then you think about someone like Kenny Leon, who's a venerated Broadway director, but also a venerated Broadway director in a particular space of revival. And how he is in a very, very beautiful moment in his career, right? I think if you think about Top Dog Underdog, and you think about like he's been growing still in his venerated stage, he's been growing in his craft. And witnessing this as a moment for him to grow in his craft. And then you also think about, well, the mechanism of what we need as a society right now. And I will say Fat Ham, which was our first Broadway show that we did, that we were able to bring to Broadway through the Public. We were co-producers on the original production at the Public Theater, and we were able to transfer it and be a co-producer on that as well. And what I've learned in this moment more so than ever, that if we are going to move past, like I talked a little bit about it before, if we're going to move past the divisiveness, the binary, we have to then begin to have a conversation about the human. And the best way that I know us to get past that is through laughter. That Ham taught us that. That Ham taught me that, right? In a room where people could have gone to so many different places, so many different destinations, could have been distracted by so many other things. For a moment in time, we carve out a space to be just, I'm a curse, effing human, right? And if we are human with each other, if we learn what to do that for 90 minutes, can we take that out in the streets? Can we be human in the streets? Can we do that? And with that difference, what does the world now look like?
I first encountered the play more than 20 years ago in college, and I was fascinated by it. Read it over and over and over, because I just thought it was so powerful and also upsetting, right? Because it felt so immediate. And now when I think about revisiting this post the murder of George Floyd, post Donald Trump, hopefully, there is something that it still feels relevant, maybe even more relevant than when I first read it. As a producer of this, maybe what is it about right now that makes this piece so important?
I think because the lines are so definely drawn, more so than they ever have been. We used to be able to be a little bit more nimble across the aisle, and it feels like, and I'm thinking about the political parties, even like there's a quote when this originally came out from Eleanor Roosevelt saying this is one of the most seminal works of its time, and everyone from around the country needs to come see it. That's across the aisle kind of work. We don't have that. It's either you're one side or the other. And that kind of like line in the sand, even though the sand's supposed to be porous, right? But we've dug it real deep. And we said, nope, I don't cross there. Nope, you don't cross over there. Yep, I'm gonna make you feel like a fool. Yep, you're gonna make me feel like a fool. We're all gonna burn together, right? It's that kind of feeling has only made a work like this actually more and more important than it ever was back in the day. Because it's actually asking us to say, if you don't listen to me, what then are you losing in the fight for your righteousness, right? I have this thing of saying, how do you find your softness inside your righteousness? How do you find your softness inside your defiance, right? And there's an element that Ozzy has pinned so beautifully, and that this production eloquently articulates, that allows for the defiance of the South, the defiance of Black culture, Black people, the defiance of a dream deferred, right? All of those things, to actually be met with softness. And by finding our softness, there's something that's different that happens, that not about like the world that we've constructed, that's made with brick and mortar and fine lines and harsh right angles. It actually turns into curvature. We actually get to have a conversation with the femme. We actually have a conversation with the divine, right? And so like in that room, especially when we talk about the epilogue, that epilogue, after all of the buffoonery, after all of the jokes, after everything that's been done, we get to a place where Leslie finally guides us into a space where it's no longer about any jokes. I'm gonna talk about the Constitution. I'm gonna talk about the righteousness of how we need to love each other, how we will meet you with love, and how we ask that when you walk out this door, love is the only salve that we have at the end of the day. And I think that is what makes it so relevant now than back in the day, is because the line got so much deeper. And ask the question, how do we get out of that? How do we get out of that rut?
I know, Paige, we were talking last night, and that the epilogue has really resonated with you as well.
Yes, it did. It just felt so real and true, and one of those things that seeks to build you up before you walk out of there and say, remember what you saw here today, without just beating you upside the head. Here's the lesson. Like, it got to the heart of what I was feeling in the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that also brings up for me, like the heart, the soul work that is involved in doing a kind of archival practice like this. Like, to me, it is really deep. It's uplifting our ancestors. It is, making sure that we honor those threads that have carried us through so that we can be here at the Lincoln Center right now. And so that also leads me to, like, besides ancestor Ossie Davis, who are the elders and the ancestors that you feel like speaking to you right now, or have spoken to you in this time?
No, there's a list.
Yes.
There's a list now.
I mean,
like, first and foremost, like, the founder of National Black Theater, Dr. Barbara Antier, who passed away in 2008. I feel like I never got to meet her. Her daughter actually appointed me to the seat that I now get to occupy, and I have to say, ever since my appointment, I feel like I'm visited by her on a consistent basis. And I used to be like, who is this voice that I'm hearing, right? And then I never met her, only a myth and a legend in my psyche and my body, someone that I read about. But you know what I mean? Those people are like it's like Alvin Ailey, a myth and a legend, giant. But like, I don't know come on, sir, I don't know. And then there would be this thing, this vessel, this energy, this whisper that would be guiding my footsteps, helping to mature my understanding of my own self. And then one day, someone played an audio clip. I said, that's her. That is the woman that's talking to me. And someone said, that's Dr. Tier, right? And so then I got to understand my privilege in being a conduit in this moment. Mm-hmm. That I'm actually a conduit, being a steward for a transition inside of an organization. Mm-hmm. And that my purpose is to stay as the conduit. My purpose is to help deepen my sense of self, to clear the vestiges of distraction, and actually harmonize my body to be able to be as much of a steward to help complete the unfinished sentences of my ancestors. Mm. So I would say Dr. Tier is one of them, a key part of like transforming my life for the past 13 years. every day, every time. And people are just like, you were trained by her, weren't you? I was like, yeah, I was. And not in the way that you think, right? Not in the way that you think. I didn't go to TTS, which was her technology, Tier Technology of Soul. I didn't meet her in person. I didn't get to see, I didn't even watch videos of her, right? I heard the myth, the legend again. I heard of the works, but not of the actual practice. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so then it's been like actually her office when she transitioned turned into a sacred meditation room inside of our institution. Wow. So that people would come and meditate, like you.
That's very cool.
Any staff
That's
member,
beautiful.
yeah, any staff member can come there and meditate, and I would do that often, all the time. Because to hold the space of being the, at that time, the director of theater arts programming for the National Black Theater, and let's frame it at the age of 25, that was a big thing. I had to learn how to like make sure lights stayed on. I was like, who does that? I had to like make sure the doors of the church are now open for people, right? Making sure the hearts and minds, because the thing as a context, as a conduit of context, and I will go to other folks that I've gone on, my brains is going on a rant, so apologies.
We're flowing with you.
Okay, good. Is the sacred gift of when I got the opportunity to work at NBT, that it was a monument towards a human and not an active, porous space being responsive to humanity. So it was a monument, but not a porous, active space for humanity to engage with. And my job has been to make it porous. My job has been, and part of that has to be a student of the founder, of the source, so that as I'm making porous, it's still tethered to roots. Yes. Because I want it to grow. My whole thing is that I want NBT to be the Ailey of Black theater. Because when I grew up in Duke Ellington, the dancers, they imagined differently because there was an Ailey. They believed differently because there was an Ailey. Not saying that they'll all dance at Ailey, but the rigor in which they would talk about Ailey, seeing Ailey, going to the Kennedy Center, seeing Ailey, having Ailey come to our classroom and be like, oh yeah, okay, I learned this stuff from Ailey, all that things. And like my friends are gonna do a million other things. Some of them are in Ailey, but not all of them, right? And the imagination is a curious, powerful tool. Y'all know this as educators, right?
Oh yes.
I did not have that as a theater person. There wasn't an Ailey for me to lean into with deep curiosity. So I had to imagine my own existence into the future, right? I didn't have something to help pull me into that existence. And what I hope, in whatever imaginative place we can get there, is that National Black Theater can be that for a future generation. It can be a space where a future me can imagine themselves into a space of becoming. Not saying that I will ever hire them, not saying they'll ever work at NBT, not saying X, Y, and Z, but the idea that cracks open a different sensibility that actually awakens new thresholds. So other ancestors that are guiding me. I want to get to that real quick. I know I went on a tangent, I apologize. I want to bring up my grandmother. My grandmother passed maybe almost close to 2 to 3 years ago. And it's because of my grandmother that I made my first film that got an Emmy nomination. So that's how I got the Emmy nomination.
Oh, that's amazing.
So my grandmother is she's my champion, right? And her energy actually has cracked and opened so many opportunities, like blowing my fucking mind. So why I made the film? So I made the film as a salve during the pandemic. It's called the Road Call, The Roots of Strange Fruit. I call it a sonic opera. It's broken up into 3 separate parts, and what it does is that it tracks basically the trajectory of 400 years of slavery, and it looks at an auction block notice from the antebellum South. It takes a collection of fugitive notices, I found about 150 fugitive notices, strings them all together, and then it looks at find your family notices during Reconstruction. And basically you follow all of those through the voices of 5 to 6 actors, embodied by one singular dancer that basically takes you on the 500-year journey. And so at the last year of my grandma and my dad's life physically on this planet, they were both in the ICU, and I didn't have an outlet to figure out what to do with that energy. And I was going back and forth to DC, trying to be a good grandson, be a good son in general. And James King at All Arts invited me to make my first film, and I was like, you know, I don't make films. I do theater. I don't know what you thought I did, but I know people who make films. I don't make no films, okay? I make theater. It says National Black Theater, not National Black Filmway, okay? So we're in the process of. He finally gets me to finally say yes to making this film. I'm in the process of making this film, and throughout it all, it becomes a salve. It becomes a lovely, healthy distraction from having to go back and forth to the ICU. And the moment that I close the film, my grandmother passes away. So then I dedicate the film literally to my grandma. And what's been so beautiful and why she's such a strong guiding force is that film has opened up so many doors for me in ways that I can't even imagine. And it allows for me, and every single time as I'm in this huge, expansive moment in my life, it allows for me to ground myself back into my grandma's energy, her embrace, the way that she believed in me, she loved me, she held me. So that as all these things are happening around my whole universe, I get to go back to that simple gesture of love and grace. So I would say those two.
That's beautiful.
Shout out
Truly.
to grandmothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Her name is Mama Keene, Virginia Keene.
As you were talking about your grandmother, which was, got me right here thinking about my own grandmother, I frequently think about this quote that says, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams," right? And I can imagine many ways that what you're doing right now makes your grandmother very proud, right? The other side of that is you're also doing things right now that you are this leader that you wanted to have when you were younger, right?
Yes, that's right.
So can you say a little bit about, maybe what is a leader you want to impart to younger people?
I mean, the leader that I want to impart to younger people, if there's anything that I get to impart, is that hopefully I showed how you can be profoundly have profound success, but be also inside of that profoundly kind. Mm-hmm. Like Self-Care Club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Care can be a part of success. Yeah. We don't have to be so ruthless in order for success to show up. And we don't have to be catty in order for success to show up.
Yes.
And we don't have to be diabolically strategic. There is strategy. But you don't have to be diabolically strategic in order for success to show up.
Please speak on it.
So you want to preach today?
And so
Say more. Say more.
I'm just
for the people in the back.
I hope, and not saying I'm a human. There are moments probably after me saying that, I'ma tell you when you done that to me, okay? Because I'm human, right? I am human. But I also, in the same sentence of that reality of me being human, I also desire, with a deep desire, that I am able to show folks that care, compassion, thoughtful integration within community and outside of community, a love for your culture, a love for who you are and where you came from, can be the elixir to actually take you to the top and make it be sustained. Yeah. And it's not a moment that you get to, and that you don't have to capitalize off of who you are. You get just to be who you are, and the capital shows up.
Well, I'm curious. On those days when you are dealing with people who do not subscribe to that philosophy, what are some of the things that you do? I know you mentioned meditation, but to take care of yourself that give you inspiration to keep going on those days that you want to just pull the covers over your head and not deal and not go forward. How do you find the inspiration to move forward?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of ways. One is that I carry people with me. So like my grandmother's bracelets on me, my great aunt's rings I have on. I have my godmother's mother's prayer scarf around me. I'm very I have high intentionality. I'm wearing a shirt that says Self-Care Club, right? It tells me what I need to be doing. I need to hydrate. I need to, like it says on the bottom. So I surround myself intentionally when I'm out in the world with mechanisms that help me to actually create the matrix to my own sense of abundance. So I think that's one. Two, I try to run my own race. I seek not to be in concert with anyone else's race. Sade and I's mascot is the turtle. Because we want, even though it might feel like we're going really fast right now, we are trying to, that it wasn't always like that. This is high intentionality. It's almost like the Beyonce effect. Like Beyonce is almost 33 years in the making, right? And like we don't see the other 20 years. We only see the last 10, and we're just like, oh, she has made it. But like there was a lot of sacrifice that came in order for her to have the abundance that she's now riding in. So I try to run my own race and try to really focus on the turtle, not the hare. I will say what I also seek to do. So what I wear is part of it. Running my own race, and I will say lastly, I'm a huge plant dad. So I have about 78 plants.
Oh my God.
That I tend for and that I take care of. And a part of that, what that does is that it reminds me how to create care mechanisms without words. How something speaks to me without words. How I need to create the opportunity for language not to be words, to be the only way language is actually articulated, and how I need to expand myself to truly be able to listen from a different space. And I think through all of that, listening, like all of that space of becoming, I then begin to have a care mechanism or a way to stay grounded, because this is a fully dangerous world.
Yes.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous because, it's dangerous. There's too much distraction, actually, housed in how this world is constructed. However, it's also a beautifully abundant world at that as well. And for those of us, and if we can figure out our unique way to address it, then I think we could then start to unlock all those majestical things that are for us. Like, I hope that that's what I get to do. I get to do what's for me, and I don't always have to do what's for somebody else.
I think that's an important thing for everybody to hear, except for the part about plants, because I'm married to a horticulturist, and we're not going to let him hear that part.
I mean, for me, it brings up a question of like, there's so much we can do for ourselves, for our self-care, to build ourselves up, to be in the spaces we want to be in, but also community care is so important. And so one of my questions is, what do you feel like is needed right now in the industry, in the arts community, to support creators like you, to support Black theater artists? I know it's a big question. You're like, let me get out the list, honey.
Come on, I was just working on this morning. I mean, if I was to think about what are the things. I think listen for not the answer, but for what the request is. Actually, like I think sometimes we listen just going directly to the answer, but sometimes it's not about the answer, it's the process too. And sometimes it's about creating the mechanism for someone to be heard and witnessed. And I think that a lot of Black administrators and Black artists, they need to be witnessed. And through that witnessing, then find out what their solution is. But I think so many people want to go with already, it's always hydroperoxide, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just needs the air. Sometimes it's about actually pulling out something so that it doesn't have pus underneath it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not always, the salve that you know is not always the salve that is needed. And so I think being courageous enough, and I think I would lean to everyone being courageous, even if you are of melanated descent. But whoever you're talking to, be courageous enough to listen, not for the answer, but for the process too. I would say learn. I think what also is necessary for melanated artists in this moment in time in particular is figuring out how labor is not your responsibility.
Wait, say that again?
How labor is not your responsibility.
Oh my.
I think a lot of Black artists, especially after the pandemic, in the midst of the pandemic and during the shutdown, were really grappled with how do I define myself, because my definition has been built on this country by labor. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens when I divorce myself of that labor? Who am I? and the I am of who I am, where's my value now if I cannot labor in this moment? Our ancestors tilled this, our DNA, our blood memory is coursed with history, language, and knowledge of labor as part of our existence. And so then what happens when you start to divorce yourself of that labor? Who do you get to become? Where do you get to go? What does rest look like as part of restoration, right? Or like you think about the Nap Ministry, right? She says, do nothing.
Yes.
Do nothing.
Love
Sit in,
her.
like don't do don't do anything whatsoever, and just allow for it just to come through your body, right? But then you're just like, but whoa.
How do I do that?
Come on now, my mama taught me something that my grandma taught me something, and then that also that comes into relationship when you think about something like that. I'll go and I want to get back. There's another point that I want to say that I think a black artist or black people or black artists need to think about. But there it goes back to this notion of there's this beautiful course called Hoffman Institute. I don't know if people know about it, but it allows for you. I took it a couple moons ago, and the premise of it, Hoffman basically had this ideology that love is the strongest vibration the world has ever known. Yet love, none of us have actually come into relationship to our definition of love because it's been taught to us by our parents how to love, and either we're in rejection of it or we're in alignment with it, right? And that's still not our own relationship because it's in response to, right? And so then what would happen if we actually had our own definitive relationship to love? Who would we become? What would the world then look like? If it wasn't codified by your parents who were codified by their parents who were codified by their parents, right? And so when I think about that relationship to labor, the relationship to labor is generational in the exact same way. It's a relationship to labor that we were actually indoctrinated into because we were brought here to only labor. And so if we divorce ourselves from it, then what society gets to, like, light bulbs might not show up. Well, that's fine, right? Peanut butter might not show up. Well, okay. We might not make it to the moon. Maybe we weren't supposed to get there, right? All of those realities that our brilliance has poured into, well, what brilliance would we then pour it into if we didn't have to see ourselves as labor? As a laborious tool for someone else to capitalize off of, because as we all know also, more people have capitalized off of our labor than we have even been able to enjoy at all.
Yep.
So then where does the scale get to change because of that? Then the next thing I would say that I think a black artist, so I talked about labor, I talked about, is this. I think this is really, really important. It is grief. We are grieving. The world we knew was no longer. And we all, as society, haven't come into relationship to that grief. The lights were turned on and we said, go. Make something, do something, create programs, act like COVID ain't alive, ain't real. Act like the economics ain't real and you are not broke, you're really rich. Go make something happen, make reality happen, all those things. You were shut down in a quick second of a blimp of a moment. You saw millions of people die. You were a part of a civic unrest that actually labored your body to actually fight for your existence. And then in the blink of an eye, you also said, go back to the energy that you once had because capitalism needs to be a part of this conversation.
Preach.
And in the blink of an eye, you were not given a restoration, a reclamation with your grief. You were told your grief is not real. You were told you needed to be something else and you need to show up because you have to what? Make that guap. Because I'm no longer gonna make sure that you are actually restored. I'm gonna make sure that you are a vessel for my capitalistic tool. So I think that artists in general, people in general, need to have a conversation with their grief and create their own restorative salve to that, their own benchmark to that, because society will not create it, but you can. You can be in a relationship with it. I've said this ever since my dear friend Christine Jean Chambers passed away, and I came into relationship to the intimate vibration of grief in a real harsh way. I don't think you ever, whenever you come in relationship to that kind of grief, I don't think you ever get over it. You're always recovering from it. And and me acknowledging my recovery from it allows for me to be as human as possible with you right here, right now. Allows for me to actually be a vessel. Allows for me to do that thing that I said I was trying to do with Dr. Barbara Antier and be a clear enough vessel to be a tool. a tool for my ancestors' wildest dreams to show up in real time. And I don't think that we as society have given us enough space, we as individuals have given ourselves enough space to actually acknowledge grief as part of the medicine we have to address.
Wow. Whew.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was a word. But I really, really want to keep having this conversation because you are incredible. We are going to have you on the show again, but unfortunately, we only have a few minutes left.
I did my job!
Yes. And you're going to have to do it again because there's going to be a part 2. But for those of you who are new to our show, we like to end the show with a little segment that we call Pure Black Joy, PB&J. It's a little snack for your soul. And so whatever we are talking about, whether we're talking about something happy and beautiful or talking about something terrible and sad, we like to end the show on a note of joy, some Black person, place, idea that is bringing us joy. And of course, we always start the segment with, you ready, Paige? And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Pure black joy.
Yes. That was the smooth version. Yes. So we'll start with you, Jonathan.
Okay.
What's making you feel joy this week?
I mean, what's making me feel really much a lot of joy is my nephew Thelonious. Watching this beautiful Black child live so softly in his state of becoming is actually making me feel like the future is potentially in the right hands. And so for me, that's bringing me lots of joy to witness this beautiful young 6-year-old child live soft in his ability, as his mom will say. We have to create the emotional resilience because he'll get so upset when something breaks. He's like, emotional resilience, where's the emotional resilience? Where's the emotional resilience? But no emotional resilience. And the fact that he's so soft that he can go to that place of caring that deeply, and then that his parents are actually saying, well, now we have to figure out how to create the bridge so you can communicate that in a way in which it doesn't break you down, but actually invites us all into the conversation. So that's bringing me lots of Black joy.
I love that. I love that.
That just brought me joy too.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the three of us kind of have the same one, right? Lee, you want to start off?
That we're here doing.
Right?
I honestly was sad, and leaving Minnesota Opera was a complicated decision.
Okay, I was about to say.
Leaving Minnesota Opera, not Minnesota State.
I was just
One of those was a little easier than the other. But the thing I thought would be the hardest to give up was this sort of communion with the two of you, and it's lovely that we found a space to continue these conversations and a receptive group of beautiful people. So yeah, excited about that. I'm excited about y'all. Excited about you.
Yeah!
New friends. Oh, absolutely. We're going to go get a beverage after this. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show. I just want to thank all of you so much for joining us and being in community and in this space with us. This is just so exciting. It's been something we have been looking forward to for such a long time, and I can't wait to do it again. I want to thank Jonathan, of course, for being here. Thank you so much. Everyone go see Purlie Victorious if you haven't seen it yet. And we will be back with new episodes everywhere that fine podcasts are aggregated on January 16th, 2024. That is going to be the premiere. And cannot wait to go on this adventure. And I hope that you all will continue to enjoy to join us. And what?
And we'll be back live here at Lincoln Center on April 10th. So please come back, join us again. We have a very exciting guest that we can't mention till she signs the MOU, but we are very excited about her.
Oh, and before we go, I just have to shout out there is a fourth member of our team, the incredible Emily Mettenbrink, who makes sure that our schedules are, that we know where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be, handles all of the guest relations and all of that stuff. And she could not be here with us tonight, but she is the fourth limb of this body, and so we would be remiss if we didn't say, hey, what's up, Emile? But thank you all again so much for being here, and we'll see you again in January. So be easy, everybody. Thank you all so much.